Recently, my favorite YouTube channel, China Uncensored, and its host, Chris Chappell, posted a video titled How Africa is Being Colonized Again. In this video, Chris Chappell, the host of the China Uncensored channel, goes and meets with a so-called Africa expert, and both men sit down and discuss how allegedly today China is trying to dominate and exploit Africa by pumping all this money and pumping all this investments into African programs and African infrastructure. Now this video is very condescending. It's very condescending, not to Chinese people, but to African people. This video is very condescending. In this video, through the eyes of African people who have suffered Western imperialism, who have been dominated by Europeans for more than 100 years, what do they see? What do African people see when they watch this video? Well, they see two white guys sitting down in a very comfortable office in the United States. And these two white guys are basically criticizing African leaders, and they're criticizing Africa for cooperating with China. And these two white guys are basically telling Africans how to run their own countries. Let me tell you something. Africans should decide how they want to run their own country, how they want to run their own continent. If Africans want to work with China, let them work with China. How come Chris Chappell didn't go and sit down with an African man from Africa, like this guy?
Tell me, let me just ask this, man. What can China do to African countries that Western countries haven't done yet? I like to know myself. How worse can it be? Far as I'm concerned, China is not the one going around bombing other countries. I can't remember the last war China has been in. China is not the one killing African people today with drones. China is not the one fighting in Iraq or Afghanistan in the name of democracy. China is the #1 investors in Africa. The African satellite that I'm talking about today was put together by Chinese and Russians. We African people will survive.
African people in Africa should decide for themselves whether they want to do business and cooperate with China or not. It's up to African people. It's not up to Americans. It's not up to China Uncensored. It's not up to Europeans. Only African people have the right to decide for themselves whether they want to work with China and cooperate with China and trade with China and do business with China or not, and who they want to work with and who they want to do business and cooperate with. It's all up to the African people. And right now, it seems like most African people agree working with China is beneficial. Working with China and cooperating with China is a positive thing. Now, China Uncensored is a YouTube channel specifically created to bash and to criticize and to attack China. So naturally, China Uncensored's comment section attracts a lot of white supremacists, KKK neo-Nazi types. You know, those very racist people. They love to go to China Uncensored's channel for some reason. They're just naturally attracted. So look at what this guy had to say. Look at what this educated person had to say about black people. Wow, this guy is a racist ignoramus. Yep, these are the type of people you see on China Uncensored's comment section. How about this guy? Time for Rhodesia revival. Rhodesia? You mean that racist apartheid regime? I thought China Uncensored and his channel was all about human rights and democracy, and the people that comment on your videos support reviving Rhodesia, a racist apartheid regime? What gives? I mean, Chris Chappell's always talking about how there needs to be human rights this, human rights that, democracy this, democracy that, and all his fan base is made up of these white supremacists that support reviving Rhodesia, a racist apartheid regime run by a white minority. I don't know, what's hypocrisy? That's the definition of hypocrisy. How about this comment? Those African savages profited massively from European colonization. Now they get even more free toys from Asians, yet they squander it all. Go watch Empire of Dirt. Those African savages profited massively from European colonization? Oh yeah, I'm sure that black guy in Congo that got his arm chopped off and mutilated will agree with you, benefited massively from European colonization. This African person posted the only educated comment on the entire comment section of the China Uncensored video. LeVar Mitchell posted this. As I'm sure you figured out, Chris, your video has attracted white supremacist types, but if you're okay with these comments, at least I know where you stand. Some Africans think the notion of China colonizing them is incredibly condescending, especially coming from white experts, and I agree with them. I want to address something said at the beginning of this interview, quite sarcastically. Africans are not turning towards China as a statement against European colonialism, but for economic development. The West model has been more and more foreign aid. China's approach has been about building infrastructure and developing African resources, as well as passing down knowledge. If you call that colonization, then China is doing a very poor job of it. So, what is your opinion about China and Africa? Is it a good thing, which benefits everybody, Chinese and Africans, or is it a evil, nefarious plot of China to dominate the world? I don't know. You tell me. Let's play some music.